to entrenching the pillars of democracy as the basis for the Palestinian political life. When division struck the unity of our homeland, our people, and our institutions, we were determined to adopt dialogue for the restoration of our unity. We succeeded months ago in achieving national reconciliation, and we hope that its implementation will be accelerated in the coming weeks. The core pillar of this reconciliation was to turn to the people through legislative and presidential elections to be conducted within a year, because the state we want will be a state characterized by the rule of law, the exercise of democracy, and the protection of freedoms and equality of all citizens without any discrimination, and the transfer of power through the ballot box. The reports issued recently by the Ad hoc Liaison Committee, the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, we believe, have confirmed and lauded what has been accomplished and have considered it a remarkable and unprecedented model. The consensus conclusion of the Ad hoc Liaison Committee of Donor Countries a few days ago here in this city described what has been accomplished as, quote, a remarkable international success story, unquote, and confirmed the readiness of the Palestinian people and their institutions for the immediate independence of the state of Palestine. That was the statement of the international community. I do not believe that anyone with a shred of conscience can reject our application for a full membership in the United Nations and our admission as an independent state. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is no longer possible to redress the issue of the blocked horizon of the peace talks with the same means and methods that have repeatedly been tried and proven unsuccessful over the past years. The crisis is far too deep to be neglected, and it is far more dangerous to be simply circumvented or its explosion postponed. It is neither possible nor practical nor acceptable to return to conducting business as usual as if everything is fine. It is futile to go into negotiations without clear parameters and in the absence of credibility and a specific timetable. Negotiations will be meaningless as long as the occupation army on the ground continues to entrench its occupation instead of rolling it back, and continues to change the demography of our country in order to create a new basis on which to alter the borders. This is totally unacceptable. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a moment of truth. Our people are waiting to hear the answer of the world. Will it allow Israel to continue the last occupation in the world? We are the last people to remain under occupation. Will the world allow Israel to occupy us forever? And will it allow Israel to remain a state above the law and accountability? Will it allow Israel to continue rejecting the resolutions of the Security Council and the General Assembly of the United Nations and the International Court of Justice and the positions of the overwhelming majority of countries in the world? Is this acceptable? Mr. President, the heart of the crisis in our area is very, very simple and obvious. Either there is those who believe that we are an unnecessary people, unwanted people in the Middle East, or those who believe that in fact there is a missing state that needs to be established immediately. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I come before you today from the Holy Land, the land of Palestine, the land of divine messages, ascension of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the birthplace of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, to speak on behalf of the Palestinian people in the homeland and in the diaspora, to say after 63 years of suffering of an ongoing tragedy, al-Nakba, enough, enough, enough. It is time for the Palestinian people to gain their freedom and independence. The time has come to end the suffering and the plight of millions of Palestinian refugees in the homeland and the diaspora, to end their displacement and to realize their rights, some of whom were forced to take refuge more than once in different places of the world. At a time when the Arab peoples affirm their quest for democracy in what is called now the Arab Spring, the time has come also for the Palestinian Spring, the time for independence. The time has come for our men, women, and children to live normal lives, for them to be able to sleep without waiting for the worst that the next day will bring, for mothers to be assured that their children will return home without fear of being killed, arrested, or humiliated, for students to be able to go to their schools and universities without checkpoints obstructing them. The time has come for sick people to be able to reach hospitals normally, and for our farmers to be able to take care of their good land without fear of the occupation seizing the land and its water, which the wall prevents access to, or the fear of the settlers with their guard dogs who attack the Palestinians. They build on our lands their homes and uproot and burn the olive trees that have existed in Palestine for hundreds of years. The time has come for the thousands of prisoners of conscience and freedom to be released from the prisons, to return to their families and their children, to become a part of building their homeland, for the freedom of which they have sacrificed so much. My people desire to exercise their right to enjoy a normal life like the rest of humanity. They believe in what our great poet Mahmoud Abbas said, standing here, staying here, permanent here, eternal here, and we have one goal, to be, and we shall be. Ladies and gentlemen, we profoundly appreciate and value the positions of all states that have supported our struggle and our rights, and recognize the State of Palestine following the Declaration of Independence in 1988, as well as the countries that have recently recognized the State of Palestine and those that have upgraded the level of Palestine's representation in their capitals. I also salute the Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who said a few days ago a word of truth, that the Palestinian state should have been established years ago. Be assured that this support for our people is more valuable to them than you can imagine, for it makes them feel that someone is listening to their narrative and does not try to ignore their tragedy and the horrors of Al-Nakba and the occupation from which they have so suffered. And it reinforces their hope that stems from the belief that justice is possible in this world. For the loss of hope is the most ferocious enemy of peace, and despair is the strongest ally of extremism. I say, the time has come for my courageous and proud people, after decades of displacement and colonial occupation and ceaseless suffering, to live like other peoples of the earth, free in a sovereign and independent homeland. Mr. President, I would like to inform you that before delivering this statement, I, in my capacity as President of the State of Palestine and Chairman of the Executive Committee of the Palestine Liberation Organization, submitted to His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations, an application for the admission of Palestine on the basis of the borders of June 4, 1967, with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital, as a full member of the United Nations. This is a copy of the application. I call upon Mr. Secretary General to expedite transmittal of our request to the Security Council. And I call upon the distinguished members of the Security Council to vote in favor of our full membership. I also appeal to the states that have not yet done so to recognize the State of Palestine. Ladies and gentlemen, the support of the countries of the world for our endeavor is a victory for truth, freedom, justice, law, and international legitimacy, and it provides tremendous support for the peace option and enhances the chances of success of the negotiations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, your support for the establishment of the State of Palestine and for its admission to the United Nations as a full member is the greatest contribution to peacemaking in the land of peace and throughout the world. Mr. President, I have come here today carrying a message from a courageous and proud people. Palestine is being reborn. This is my message. May all the people of the world stand with the people of Palestine as it marches steadfastly to its appointment with history, with freedom, with independence right now. And I hope that we shall not wait for long. Thank you all.
Okay, marching towards its appointment with history, the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas